What I have found is that if I wanted to come up with a reason not to work on my weight loss goals or my health goals or really any goals, but in particular weight loss goals, I could find a reason. And it didn't matter what time of year it was, it didn't matter what was going on in my life. I could always find a reason to put off starting. But I think summer was particularly interesting in this sense of putting things off. It seems like, summer would be a great time to get out and be more active and do all the things, right? Fresh fruit and fresh vegetables and the heat. But what I find in talking to women like you about summer, and what I found in my own life, was that summer, in fact, was an easier time to put it off. It was more difficult for me to get started and stay committed in the summertime. Anything from being out of school, the kids being out of school, there being lots of activity, to, the days being longer and you can be outside for a longer period of time. So your routines seem to get thrown more off kilter and off schedule than any other time of year. And so routinely for me, summer was a time when it seems counterintuitive when you think about it, but it was a time when we all say we want to be fit and trim and we're worried about being in our shorts and our tank tops and bathing suits and all of those things. So you'd think we'd be more motivated, but I found that on the contrary, I put it off more. I gained weight in the summertime. And it just created this like vicious cycle of beating up on myself, of thinking back and saying things like, if I'd have started in June, like I said I was going to, I would have already lost 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever it was by July 4th. And then the end of summer would roll around, and oftentimes, in fact, you guys, I was heavier at the end of summer, and I would look back and again, do that self-deprecating, what did you do? You wasted time. If you'd have started in June, now it's the end of August, you're going back to school, and you said you were going to lose weight before school started again. And it was this calendar year for me, because I was in academics, right? And so as a teacher, there was this break. The year ran from like August, September-ish to May, 1st of June. That's how my brain thought of the year. And so when we got out of school the end of May, I always thought of that as the opportunity where I didn't see people every single day and I could lose the weight and go back to school thinner. But again, like I was saying, that was a really difficult time for me to set my sights on weight loss goals or to stay committed to them. And so then, the school year was rolling around, and not only did I beat myself up about wasting time and I could have been so much farther along, then I looked back and I said, okay, crap, now I have to start school. My clothes are tighter or don't fit. I have to go find new slacks, and don't even get me started on shopping for new slacks at the beginning of the school year. Anyway, my point with this is, just like I used to do, I hear women talk about how summer is a difficult time for them to get started. And it really can be anything from, and I'm not saying these are necessarily not a valid reason. Some of these are very valid reasons. Your routine gets disrupted. You have kids out of school, like I was talking about. There are pool parties and lake parties and all of these things that go on where food and drink is typically part of the celebration, right? It's not that they're valid things that are actually occurring that might make getting started or staying consistent a little bit more challenging. But what I had to come to terms with and finally just find a way to move through these struggles is, it doesn't matter if it's summertime, it doesn't matter if it's Christmas time and the holiday season from October to December, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, we will always find an excuse, a reason, if that feels better to you to say it that way. But we'll always find some kind of rationale for why it's not a good time to start. And I'm recording this podcast the weekend right before 4th of July in the United States. And I'm thinking about this today because I've talked with some women who are talking about how next week they'll be on vacation and next week they have lake parties and all of these things. And we're going out of town. Actually, as soon as I wrap this up, I better run my butt in there and pack some clothes before Roger gets home because he's going to be pissed that I'm not ready to go. But we're going out of town for the next 4 or 5 days. And there will be pool parties and food and the snacks and all the things. My mother is one of those people whose love language is food. And she's already texted me a couple of times about what she got at the grocery store because she's planning all the things, right? So I know that's a reality. And again, I wanted to record this today because just because we have those celebrations, we have those times where we enjoy food and drink, we enjoy the lack of schedule and routine, it doesn't mean that it has to prevent us from making progress. This is not about an all or nothing lifestyle. You don't have to either be on a diet or be off of a diet. And it's one of the reasons that I don't even talk about dieting with my clients, because we all have to eat. It's just a matter of what we choose to eat, when we choose to eat it, and how much of it we choose to eat. You don't have to be all or nothing working on your goals. And so I think summertime is actually a really good opportunity for us to take some baby steps toward how we want to live, right? And with 4th of July coming up, like I said, and so many people in the US having barbecues and lake days and pool parties and even entire weekends and weeks of that kind of celebration centered oftentimes around food, I think it really is a good time to talk about how you can indulge some in the things that you enjoy. You can still have some motivation. You still can have some consistency even during these high celebration times, even during these times when routines are not as set as they usually are during the year. And I think it's just, we've got to think about how we don't have to always sabotage our goals. We can do small things that will put us on track. And so how do we do that? I want to give you some tips. I've been talking to some clients about this week. And there are some really great things that you can do to kind of offset the all or nothing kind of mentality. You don't have to come back from 4th of July and weigh 5 pounds heavier than you did when you went on your trip or even just staying at home. You don't have to step on the scale and think everything is busted because you enjoyed, 4 days of binge eating. So first off, I think, one of the great tips I can give you is around 4th of July, summertime, or really any time of the year, is to be realistic about your goals. Be realistic about what you're able to do toward those goals too. You really need to be focused on reaching your goal with progression. It needs to be a gradual progression. You don't need to set a timeline and say, okay, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in the next 3 months, or I'm going to lose 40 pounds before school starts. It's great to set a goal like that, but break it down and really think about it in terms of the effort that you're going to put in toward that goal. Okay. You don't think about the big giant beast that you want to overcome. Just think about what are some things that I can do to put effort into reaching that goal rather than looking at it as an outcome goal. Okay. So, you can do things like drink more water. You can do things like limit the amount of desserts or cookies and chips that you're going to eat. Don't deprive yourself of enjoying them, but be aware of the amount, the portion sizes that you are enjoying. Limit yourself to 1 treat a day, for example. and make it one that you really, really enjoy. Not something you just mindlessly, shovel in and then don't even really enjoy the taste of it because you ate it before you even knew you were swallowing, right? So setting realistic goals and thinking of goals in terms of the effort that you put toward them instead of the outcome that you're looking at, that will get you a lot more progress. Another thing is plan ahead a little bit. You can, for example, we're going to my parents' over the next several days, and I'm planning ahead. I've already thought about how I want to make sure that I put my water out in the morning. I'm going to make sure I get my water in each day. Am I going to drink? Absolutely, I am. We're going to be around the pool. We're going to be having fun. I'm going to enjoy my drinks. But for every drink I have, I'm going to have a bottle of water. I'm going to make sure that I get my daily allotment of water in, which is usually around 100 to 120 ounces. I like to get about a gallon almost in a day. But if I plan ahead to do that, I'm much more likely to get that water in than if I just wake up and willy-nilly drink water throughout the day and don't keep track of it. You can do the same kinds of things with planning ahead for yourself. Make sure if you are going out of town that wherever you are, if you're staying in a hotel, go to a store and buy some healthy snacks, have water on hand, have, the 100-calorie pack snacks. If you're going on some kind of a day excursion, make sure you take fruit and different kinds of snacks with you so you don't let yourself get overly hungry. Those kinds of small efforts toward planning ahead can go a really long way to total up to a lot of saved heartache, calories, pounds, all of that. Another thing is, really focus, thinking about planning ahead for your food. You can plan ahead in a lot of different ways, but really kind of stay focused on balancing your nutrition, balancing your food. You don't have to be super strict, like I mentioned earlier. Don't deprive yourself of everything, but think about how you want to make sure you get some fruits and vegetables in each day. You want to really prioritize protein. You don't want to just go like whole hog into all the carbs that are available to you. It doesn't mean to avoid the carbs. Just try to focus on protein first, fruits and veggies next, and then kind of fill in the missing pieces with the carbs instead of what we typically do as Americans is load our plate up with the carbs first, all the starchy stuff first, the creamy stuff first, then we add the meat, then we add the salad. Do it backwards, if you will. Flip that around and you will really get satisfied more on the proteins and the fruits and veggies, and you'll even just desire the carbs in a less strong way, if you will. That was a really crappy way of saying that. Staying hydrated, I talked about that in terms of planning ahead, but that's really a big one. You need to really, really try to drink plenty of water throughout the day. And the best way for you to do that, if you're not used to doing it, it's not a discipline for you, the best way to do it is actually just to track it. A great way, if you're out of town especially, if you have a tumbler, a water bottle, keep track of how many you drink. There are little things that you can put beads hanging off of a piece of jute or something on the side of your water bottle. Move a bead down every time you fill your bottle up. If you're drinking out of plastic, throw away water bottles. Take out however many you need for the total for the day. Number them with a Sharpie. And once you have, that's an easy way to keep track of how much you've drank all day long. Make sure that you're trying to incorporate and focus on incorporating some kind of physical activity. Don't lay around on the couch and watch TV all day over a holiday like this. Get up, go for a walk. If you're visiting family, say, hey, come with me for a walk. Just try to make an effort to get in extra steps. You don't have to do workouts, folks. You can actually lose weight and tone up without doing a ton of formal working out. Clients in my 12-week program, when I customize those workouts for them, it's 3 days a week, 20 to 25 minutes a day. When they're on a vacation or they're on an extended long weekend, holiday weekend like this, they do their workout because typically only one of them is going to fall during that vacation, max 2 if they're out of town for an extended time. But it's super easy for you to fit in short sessions. The key to that is those short sessions being really focused in a metabolic way that they actually get you a result. But going for a walk, if you're out of town, take a 20-minute walk. Super easy to do. You don't need equipment. Throw a pair of tennis shoes, sneakers in your bag, and take a walk. Super easy. Another thing is, enlist some support. If you're not going to get a coach like me, or you can also join my total wellness group. But if you're not going to do something like that, enlist some support from people around you, family, friends, your partner. Tell them, I'd really like to kind of pay more attention to what I'm eating and how I'm moving. I'm thinking that I will, try to work on being healthier and maybe dropping a few pounds. I'm not going to really focus on the scale so much, but I'd love for you to join me in making some healthier choices. And will you help support me by going on walks with me? Most times people are going to be thrilled that you asked them to support you because they really want to do something healthier and they just haven't been motivated yet. You might be able to help them get motivated too. And a big one, you really need to focus on managing your stress. When we are on holiday and through the summer, when the kids are home, you're visiting family, you're taking trips, there's a lot of extra stress that can be thrown into life. Packing, like I need to do right now. It's a little bit of a stressor on me because I don't have it done, right? If you're taking a family off somewhere for the holiday, that can add a lot of stress for a lot of different reasons, particularly if you're dealing with things like flights, right? You've got to remember that none of what is going on that's stressing you out is a permanent situation. You really want to think about practicing mindfulness, taking a couple of deep breaths. If you get really, really frustrated, go off by yourself for 5 minutes and just woo-saw it out, right? And I'm not a woo-woo guru, but just focusing on being mindful of the fact that whatever is going on to agitate you right now is not a life or death situation, most likely. So take a couple of deep breaths. Don't let it get to you. I know it's easier said than done, but stress can be one of the biggest obstacles to overcome in losing weight and staying healthy. It puts a strain on your heart. It puts a strain on all of your systems, and it in fact can stop the scale from dropping. And then finally, I think it's about practicing some self-compassion, not beating up on yourself, but not only not beating up on yourself, but being kind to yourself. No matter what you do over the upcoming holiday weekend or what you did on your last holiday weekend, none of it is irreversible. I don't care how much you ate, how much you drank, how much you sat around like a sloth. None of that is irreversible. Don't beat yourself up over it. If you see the scale go up a few pounds, know that a lot of that is inflammation. A lot of it is from salt intake. It may be from dehydration. There are a lot of factors that can go into why the scale goes up. In fact, I would encourage you not to step on the scale immediately when you get home or after a holiday weekend where you've indulged. Just give yourself a few days, drink a ton of water, get back on track with healthy choices, and then wait 4 or 5 days or so to step on the scale. It's a trick I use all the time. It's a mind trick. I know the scale probably went up, but I don't need to see the number. So I wait 4 or 5 days, drink a ton of water, work out again, make really healthy choices. And by the time I do step on the scale, there's not an extra pound for me to look at the number and be upset about. So there you go. Just some really quick tips. It's about, I hate to say balance. I almost said balance, and I don't want to say that because it really isn't about balance. It's about making decisions that are the best for you at that time. This weekend, I'm not going to be eating balanced and drinking balanced. I'm going to be enjoying myself a little bit more. But when I come home, I'm going to use a lot of the tips that I just shared with you to get myself back on track. And that's where the scale, if you will, of balances comes into play. It's not on a day-to-day basis, but it's in those seasons. And summertime may just be a season where you want to enjoy yourself a little bit more and indulge a little bit more and not be as strict. But again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. So have some grace with yourself and enjoy this summer. Thanks, you guys, for listening. I hope this was helpful. I would love to hear from you. Write a review, give the podcast a rating, and I'll see you right back here next week.